Hi, I'm Sanjeev and we are in the Willis Annex Laser Labs. This is Azi. Hi Azi, do you want to give us a quick intro about yourself and what your research is about?
Hi Sanjeev. I'm Azadeh. I submitted my PhD thesis last March and now waiting for the examiner's comments.
Right,
Yeah.
that's really, yeah, what was your PhD on?
My PhD thesis was on hemodynamic alteration within the stented peripheral artery with regards to different stenting techniques.
Okay, you mentioned stent a couple of times. What is a stent?
Oh, a stent. Have a look at this. A stent is a metallic medical device which will be used by an endovascular surgeon to open up the artery and restore the normal flow of the blood. As you can see, this artery is kind of narrowed by these two plaques here.
Yeah.
You'll see the clot here. So with the stent surgery, the normal flow of the blood is fully restored.
Okay, yeah. And you also mentioned different types of stent.
Oh yeah, so different techniques of stentings are being used by endovascular surgeon to fully open up the artery. For example, if the bifurcated artery involves if the bifurcated artery have plaques everywhere, like in the main branch here at the carina and here. Opposite of the carina, so it needs more than one stent to be treated.
Okay. Yeah.
Which makes the whole surgery more complicated.
Okay.
So you'll see these kind of techniques here. The simplest one was the PSB or the provisional side branch technique, which involves only one stent through the main branch.
Yeah.
The other ones, the most commonly used is the TS stenting technique, the couloid, and the crush one, which involves two stents.
Okay, cool. It's interesting to know that there's so many different types of methods of stenting.
Yeah.
But expanding on that, what's the motivation behind looking into these different stenting methods?
Oh yeah, so by investigating the hemodynamics within the stented peripheral artery, we would be able to predict the location and severity of some post-stent complications. So in our case, it's in-stent restenosis.
Okay.
I'll show you what exactly it is. Here, you'll see the incidence of in-stent restenosis. Here, you'll see the stent here. So after a few days, or it can be, the range is between like few days to few months. The in-stent restenosis or the occurrence of this neointimal hyperplasia may be happening, which causes the artery to be re-narrowed again.
Okay.
So what we are doing actually is we are hemodynamically trying to predict the likely incidence of these neointimal hyperplasia.
Okay,
Yeah, Sanjeev, don't you think it's amazing? We can predict the location and severity of in-stent restenosis before it actually happens in a real surgery.
It's very clinically useful, and yeah, okay. But building up on that, how are you predicting, what methods are you using to predict when and where?
Actually, we are using two different platforms. The computational model, which involves lots of CAD modeling, meshing, and analysis. So I've done all of this by using different software. For CAD modeling, I used SolidWorks and CATIA. For meshing, I used ISIM, and for analysis, I used ANSYS Fluent.
Okay.
And for laboratory experiments, I used I had to do lots of design, prototyping, 3D printing, and fabrication to be able to create the model. Okay. And then out of that, doing the flow measurements by using the laser-based measurements techniques, the high-tech PIV systems.
Okay, yeah. You mentioned that, so take the computational method first. You said you use CAD, so you basically created a virtual model of the artery and the stent?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, I created the geometry of the stent individually and the geometry of the vascular system or the peripheral artery individually, and then virtually implanted the stent into the artery.
And the meshed and
yes,
then CFD,
exactly.
The usual process. But what were you looking in your CFD? What results were you looking for? What parameters were you?
Oh, I used a couple of parameters. Actually, it's about 5 parameters, I think, in my case.
Okay.
Yeah, but I tried to use the time average form of the parameters, like time
Mm.
average wall shear stress gradient, oscillatory shear index, OSI, and RRT. And I also introduced, I also used a new one, which is GON,
Okay.
or the gradient oscillatory number.
Okay, cool. And you
So
plot
which
it
requires
across.
lots of coding. We wrote that we wrote that and then attached that to the Fluent as a UDF.
Okay, so yeah, so you, I guess Fluent just gives you wall shear stress. You're using wall shear stress to make all these other 5 calculations that you said.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
They're all
using a
calculated
UDF.
based on wall shear stress.
Using a UDF.
Yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's really
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you plot it across the model, is it? Or-
Exactly,
yeah, and
yeah.
see which points.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have a plot of
Oh
it?
yeah, I can show you. We also use some clinical cases for our modeling as well.
Okay.
Oh yeah, here you see one of the clinical cases. This is taken this is taken about 6 months after the surgery.
Okay.
You'll see the incidence of interstitial stenosis at 2 ends of the artery, here and here. You know, for stenting the peripheral artery, the surgeons needs to oversize the artery.
Okay.
And this model is oversized as well, up to 100% of the normal size, the native size of the model.
Oversized meaning like bigger than the artery, or?
Yeah, they're actually opening the stent, up to like bigger than its native size.
Yeah. Okay.
To be able to optimally oppose the stent against the artery wall.
Okay. Cool.
So yes, then we created the model before developing these 2 stenosis, and then from here we can predict these 2 sites.
Yeah. Okay. And from
And here you can see one example of my modeling by using time average wall shear stress and time average wall shear stress gradient. So the regions in dark blue and dark red here are the regions prone to the likely interstitial stenosis.
Okay. Yeah, that's very useful for the clinicians as well.
Exactly.
To know exactly where you get restenosis.
Exactly.
You also mentioned lab models. What was the process for that?
For lab models, we actually needed to have a fully transparent model. So we 3D printed the stented artery and then created a negative mold of that out of PDMS, because the model needed to be fully transparent for the laser measurements. From that, after the prototyping, we created the whole loop of the system and then used that for the flow measurements. But we had some challenges with the experiment models, because the struts of the stents are kind of blocking the field of view of the measurements. This problem actually required more time to be resolved.
Because you need a laser to illuminate what's inside.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. I guess, challenging as well.
Yeah.
But you've mentioned a couple of times that, you've tried to figure out where restenosis occurs. So there's a strong connection to the clinic. Was this a problem by clinicians, given to you by clinicians, or did engineers go forth and find this and say we can do it better? Which way?
Kind of. Well, this stenting the peripheral bifurcated artery has long been a challenging and unsolvable problem. We actually collaborated with 2 endovascular surgeons from Prince of Wales Hospital to provide us feedback on a clinical side of our study, and then translating the outcome of our study into the clinical practice.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So.
Yeah, especially when it comes to oversizing and different kinds of techniques, and the size of the stent in treating the peripheral bifurcated artery, where the flow of the blood is higher than the coronary arteries.
Okay, yeah, so getting real-time, really useful data for the clinicians using the skills here. It seems like you've got multiple components in your research. So do you want to brush on a couple of challenging areas, challenging aspects of your research?
Well, I would say every single part of the research is challenging,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the challenges associated with creating this complex geometry of the stented artery with like 2 or 3 stents into the model, and then meshing that complex geometry and to modeling, like creating writing the code,
Yeah, yeah.
to flow measurements by creating the geometry, the fully transparent geometry. You know how hard it is. You're doing. I know you're doing some research.
Laser stuff,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, with lasers. So you know how hard is that. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But this is what making the entire research interesting.
Yeah, finding new things and
Exactly.
trying to push the barrier.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And where do you think your research will go forth from here, or who do you think will use it, or how will it be applied?
I think, yeah, my research was kind of multidisciplinary.
Yep.
It was kind of a combination of an engineering and medicine. I think, yeah, it can be used in medical device development, in FDA, in working with like surgeons to provide them a guideline with like the effective use of the endovascular, the stents or the vascular medical devices, the vascular devices. They can even these data probably can help them to find a strategy to take and technique to kind of prevent the initiation of the disease before it actually happens.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So it's tackling a disease. It's also seeing what your research is looking into, all the details surrounding a medical device, and it's
Exactly.
using a lot of engineering skills as well.
Exactly. Correct.
Thanks a lot for covering so many components of your research, and I think we've learned a lot about
Thank you.
medical devices.